Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Evo. Good morning, William. Here we go. So Monday, June 8th. Monday, June 8th. For anybody who's new in here, I do not trade the open. The markets are open, so good luck to anybody who's taking positions this morning. But always start just by looking at what is going on in the markets right now. So let's start with MNQ. MNQ, we had that huge drop on Friday. Huge drop. It was, not the end of the world. It's a 4% drop, I think it came out to be. And we started recovering right after hours. And then on Sunday, this was a very interesting price action. Once the market opened on Sunday, we dipped down and then made a high at this level here that I just added. This line was not here. And then we came down and bounced. So a break, a retest, and now we are reversing. Whether it'll continue, who knows? However, we are buying, and this is a fib that I put on this morning. I was looking at it. I was actually hoping at this point, actually it wasn't this high, but at this point right here, I was hoping that it would come down and retest. Did not yet, but the impulse move happened this morning on a tweet or whatever you want to call it when Donald Trump posts something saying that, Iran and Israel supposedly have both agreed to a ceasefire. So that's when this happened. And so right now we're moving up. MES, a very similar price action. So we'll see what happens. This was an area of retest. Right, we broke down on Friday, retested, and then broke down from here. That's where this line in the sand is. So I'm very curious to see what happens at this level. I only trade at these at levels. I do not trade in the middle of nowhere. And so I'm very curious to see what happens in the first half hour over here. And gold has been moving up. That's the paper trading account. If anybody's curious, I always take trades on the screen that I share. It's always on the paper trading account. Let's take this out. So we had a double bottom here on gold this morning, very early morning. I did not trust it, and I wish I had, because I was looking at the double bottom possibility and didn't like that there was a lot of resistance up here, but it would have been a good trade. MCL has been dropping since that news over here. I did not find an entry, so I will remove this for now. This is the impulse move right here. So right here, this is where I would start a fib, and I would bring it down to where the low was over here. I was looking for an entry. That's why there was an alert over here. And at this point, we've made new lows here. So my alert would be before it retraces into the 50 again. And Intel had news this morning, partnership with Google, I believe, was the news. Let's bring it up here. Financial juice. Google, yeah, Google and Nvidia consider Intel as a backup chip maker. So there was a big move on Intel this morning. This is the impulse. So I'm sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. That's the impulse move. This is the retrace. It's right at the 50. This is an incredibly interesting area for this move up here. So I don't know if anybody's looking at this, but right, this, if anybody, and this is not trading, or I'm not telling anybody what to do, but this, if I were trading this, this is what I'd be looking at. right? There's a lot of interest in the buying, and we're retracing into this area. So I'd like to see how these candles close over here. This is where I zoom in to, there's an alert on MNQ. I'll go check it out in a second. This is where it retraces, and this is where I zoom in and start looking at price action. Want to see, is there buying? Right, on the 2-minute, we've got a couple red fair value gaps, and this one's kind of pretty big, right? So there was a lot of selling over here. But now I want to see, do we have buying? And if there is, there could be an entry possibility to get back to the highs and beyond. MNQ, this seems like news, right? Big drop like that. Doesn't seem to be anything right now, right at this second. Or it's just a pullback into the golden zone. I am not planning on doing anything in the first half hour. I want to see what the market does, especially on the Monday morning. All right, you can expect these big candles in the first 30 minutes. And the first 30 minutes, I would not have a limit order at the 50 here. I would not trade this in the first 6 minutes. I want to see what happens from here a little bit later on, possibly. So, anybody has anything they're looking at or anything they want to share, please don't hesitate. This is an interesting 2-minute candle here. I'd like to describe it. By the way, this is, I started this fib at this level, right? It was resistance, and this is where we broke through resistance over here. Did not give a retest possibility. And at this point, it could come down here again, but that's where I started the fib over here, and I'm stopping it where we started reversing. But curious to look at this 2-minute candle. Right, it seems like the word is escaping me. This long wick. The candle. It looks like a kangaroo tail or a trendy kangaroo. But what I wanted to point out is that it did not close near the tops. The second candle went up and swept. That's the word I was looking for. This looks like a sweep towards the highs. The next candle broke that high, but then came back down. So I don't trust it until this happens. Right? What we're seeing right now, it looks like it could be bullish. Right? But I don't chase it, and I don't trade the first half hour. So I just want to point out what this looked like. Right? This looks like a sweep. It goes back, it goes down, takes out a bunch of stops over here. Anybody who was long aiming for the highs over here, they get out at break even, or they get out at their stop over here, and we continue up, possibly. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, but after 9:50, closer to 10. I want to see what happens. Now, this is starting to look like a sweep in the other direction. Right? And it's understandable. It's the first half hour.
It hit the 50% fib from Friday. Pretty much
this area right here.
Yeah.
So if we were to draw from where we started to the bottom, that's where we are. right? Or if we start at the bottom and get up here, right, we could have some orders waiting down here still. But for me right now, I'm not doing anything. That was a big drop on Friday, but overall, the market is still bullish. So those bulls might be seeing this as a discount. I read something interesting. I actually was thinking of the possibility, but that a lot of money might be coming out of certain positions to free up capital for the IPO this weekend or this weekend on Friday. SpaceX is supposed to IPO on Friday, so that'll be interesting to watch. I will not be trading that IPO. I might be investing later. I do like the idea, but you know what? Back then, back in the day, you could get into a position of a new company, and it would be priced decently. But something like SpaceX is already priced as in it's making, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, and the potential is there, but it's not there yet. This candle right here, the rejection candle, it definitely looks like a trendy kangaroo, but on the way down. So it'll be curious to know if it breaks the high up here or the low. It'd be interesting to see what happens from there. Q broke the levels with no retest. Was watching all morning. Yeah, it did not have a retest. I mean, if you consider this a little bit of a retest, right? It broke through this area, and then you would want it to come down to at least the 50, if not the entire area, to prove that this is no longer resistance and it actually will be acting as support. It could happen later on. I like the idea of having this here, but it didn't even give us 50%. So from the break, right, we broke out of this area. You could start the fib below here and where it started reversing, or even if you brought it over here, at the start of this 5-minute candle here, it did not get into the 50 area. I will go a point or two above the 50 area, but this was quite a bit above. And the reason I wouldn't, well, a few reasons. First of all, it's at 8:30. It's right before, or sorry, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. I might have gotten into it. If it had touched over here, I would have gotten into it. Again, I would have gotten into it aiming for the highs for 3R. And then, you know, you look at price action to see if you can, you know, get 6 hours. But where it is right there and where I'd likely put my stop is the RVR just isn't there, especially at that time of day. See what I said? If we break the low or the high, we could get quite the move. Curious to see what happens over here. Will we break above it, or will it be a little bit of a double top and then to come back and get the orders over here? Or possibly I should have left that other one. Just start there and go there. Yeah, this whole area right here could be an area of reload. So let's see what happens. Identifying fib levels and trading them, but getting chopped at times. Maybe I'm getting in too early. I'm not able to time the entry. Do you place the limit order after price went into the golden range or on its way up towards on a long trade? That's a good question. Thank you for asking. First of all, my limit entry is something I'm still testing out. So I don't take it on every trade. There's a lot of things that have to be present for me to take it. It has to be showing me that there is support at a certain level. There needs to be room to the left. There needs to be an impulse move. And then if the 50 coincides with another level of support, let's say this was a 50 area right here, then I would put a limit order, and let's just put a fake fib over here. Let's put it from here to here so that it coincides to the 50, right? So over here, if this, and you know what, this isn't a bad fib to have on a higher time frame, right? This is where this level over here actually showed as support. So over here, if it was after 10 a.m., I would put, and I'll mark it out as to how I would do it. I'd do a limit. It would be a limit buy. The limit order would be at the 50 or right above, and the stop would be right below, and there wouldn't be this this amount here. Let me just go with the risk of $100 to make it more realistic. Sorry, that's my profit over here. That's my stop, and this is the order over here. And I'm gonna have to put in a 500 to be able to get some contracts here. So hopefully that answers the question. This is what it would look like. I like this idea, not necessarily for a trade today, but what I was saying is that I like when the 50 coincides with another level. Right, so we've got a level here that was resistance. It was resistance. We are above it now. So it likely, and when I say likely, it's more than 50% likely that it would be support. It is the golden zone area. My stop is below the 61.8. And you know what? I'm okay risking 1R to possibly make 3. And what I do as well is once the order is set and I hit buy, I will put this tool over here, just like this, and I'll move this to 3, like that. And I'll look at, where it is. If 3 was way off the chart, I wouldn't take it. But right over here, I'm okay with it. And I would move this down here. So that's the way I would do it. Still a little bit early, and I'm paying attention to price action. I don't just put them on blindly. I want to see what is happening on the way down. If we had some big, massive candles, especially if we had a liquidity sweep above this area here. So if there's a KT, or it gave me a signal for a short, a KT short, or a double top over here, then I wouldn't necessarily put in the limit order. I would look at price action. I would put in an alert in the area, and then I would look at my price action setup to be able to get in. And that is usually on the 2-minute time frame. I want to see a sweep into the 50, and then I want to see some buying. And mostly with candlestick confirmations. I often don't have volume on my chart. And it's the naked trading, Naked Forex, fantastic book. Thank you for confirming. I'm glad that answers your question. And I take them, or at least in the paper trading over here, I explain them daily, as well as other setups. Right? This is the KT setup right over here. I don't like it because it's in pre-market, but this liquidity sweep here, this would have been a 5R, or sorry, a 3R trade. Right? This setup over here, it's swept above. Had it happened after 10 a.m., I likely would have taken this short. I'd want to look, is it at a level? Not really. Not really. But if, let's say there was, sorry, let me just get this out of here. Let's say there was a level over here, right? That's the KT setup. Kangaroo tail setup, again, from Naked Forex. I didn't invent these terms, by the way, even though I love Australia, and I would move there tomorrow if I could. Yeah, that's a short on the break of the low. Conservative stop, aggressive stop, 50%, and aim for 3. It's already made it to 10R over here. With the conservative stop, 5R. And maybe at some point I will get back into taking trades at 922 for this possible move. But at this time, not worth it. Other setups will appear. This is okay here. Yeah, anything else going on? Actually, I'll put on this screen over here. Let's look at it. Look at gold. Gold is just in a choppy area over here. If it were to make it above the weekly high, well, they're calling it weekly high because it's Monday, but if it were to make it above here, I'd like to know. So alert set for gold above here, because then there would be room to the left. Can take away some of these drawings. It's the wrong drawing. There you go. Take that out. So that's gold. This is the ES, micro ES. Take that out. So for there to be room to the left, it would have to do something up here. Right? Either break out and retest and move up, or reject this level. That was Friday's trade. In hindsight, would have been nice to keep it for, I made 3R on this. Actually, I took it on MNQ, I believe, but this was a trade that I put on Friday, right? I explained this right before 10:30. It went up. It's a little bit small to watch. Let's go back to MES. There you go. So this was the trade that I took in sim, but I actually took it live after I cut out. I cut out a little bit early on Friday because I had people in the house. But when I saw this price action here, I took a short for plus 3R, and because there were people in the house, I just set a profit target of 3R and walked away. And had I been trading it live, I possibly would have added like what Avi did, or just trailed my stop, because this did not show that it was breaking structure, right? It's going down. And over here was a little bit scary maybe, but again, it just popped up and just kept on moving down. Right? So over here, put a level here, right? We retested, and then this was resistance, and again this morning, but now we made it above here, right? So this is absolutely a change of character, as some people might call it. Right? We're changing character. We're no longer selling. We're starting to show that there's positivity in this. Actually, the MES, I wasn't really paying attention to. I was mainly looking at MNQ, but this is showing a decent pullback. Start them over here. Yeah. Interesting. I definitely want to see what happens at the tops here. And approaching the first half hour, anybody else? Do you have a book recommendation on fib trading? I do not have a book recommendation on fib trading. Fib trading, I call it the fib, but it's not really. I mean, if I just draw here from the bottom to here, right? The only fib level on here is 61.8. And at the end of the day, that is the only fib level. Fibonacci is just, I'm not going to do a whole math lesson, but the only Fibonacci ratio is 61.8%. Right? What I trade is the 50%. 50% is not a fib level. 50%, if I only had the 50 on here, it would just be a 50% retracement. And it's just something that has worked forever, because when you have a big move, not everybody can get into this move. So what happens, that market makers and algos, they bring it back about 50%, and then they jig, they see, or do we have any buyers over here? And what happens, that oftentimes these buyers will add to their position, or reload, as I call it, and new people will get in at 50%. Right? The 61.8, the fib level that reproduces everywhere in nature, and the golden ratio that we've all seen in the Vitruvian Man painting, and everywhere. The reason that it works is not science fiction. It's just that everybody looks at it. Not everybody, but a lot of people will look at it, and it's a level. So anyway, I'm reading that currently, the Naked Forex. I've said it in the chat or in the Discord. Naked Forex is probably the book that has influenced my technical trading the most. Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone for Psychology. There's so many different books out there that are, and I've read most of them. But as far as strategy and reading price action, Japanese candlestick patterns, and Naked Forex. And by the way, I don't trade Forex. So what I'm doing with the 50% retracement and stops near or at 61.8, it works in futures, in Forex, it works in equities, works with options, works with mostly everything, because traders and investors, because it does work on a higher time frame, will look at a 50% retracement. But I will say, one of the main things that you need is an impulse move. You need to see that we are buying. Right? We are buying. There's room to the left. Right? We have not been here in a while. So this right here, and I like using the Lux Algo fair value gap drawing over here, because it tells you most recently that the buyers were in control. However, at the open, we put in a 5-minute fair value gap on the downside. So most recently, we were selling. There were a lot of sellers on Friday, and they might still be present. And this area right here is 50% of this area. Right? Look at where price is, where it reversed right into the golden zone from the short on Friday. So anyway, thank you for the question. Hopefully that answers. Hopefully it's not too long-winded. The way that I'm seeing this right now is that most recently we sold, pulled back, and are selling again. But we are selling into possible support. So right in this area, for me, it's no bueno. No bueno. Or what do you say? No good. And by the way, from the selling this morning, from the selling right before the open, to what is going on with my fib retracement tool. There we go. From there to there. All right, so if you start it where we started selling, here, let's put it right where we started selling. We rejected this area over here, and we rejected it a little bit earlier. So let's start it right here. And then right over here on this candle, we started buying. So you draw it like this. Where did it go into? It went into the 50% zone. and rejected. And if you can find an entry in here, that's absolutely a 3R trade or more. I would not have taken this because I've said it enough. It's too close to the open. It's right now because these moves cannot be trusted right when we open. This area right here might be interesting if we find some buyers. Right? This was the impulse move that brought us up here. So there might still be buyers waiting along in here. Excuse me. I don't know if anybody else in the chat has a fib trading book recommendation. If there, I don't know if I've never really looked for it. On MNQ, we are approaching this level here that I wanted to see if I put this here because I wanted to see if it came back into this level here, right? This was resistance. Again, it's a straight line, but it's actually an area, right? If I draw it as an area in here, and so I want to see what happens in here. Gold is chopping. Oil is definitely difficult to trade. We closed the gap from the open on Sunday. I need to take this call. Excuse me for a second. This is oil right here, very slow moving. Oil, I had an alert here for the impulse move. The impulse move, when I don't trade news, but I love trading the 50% retracement after the news. So this was news that broke out this morning at 7:10. It was a tweet by Donald Trump saying that, you know, whatever was pushing price up here was, you know, conflict in the Middle East. He tweeted something positive, and we moved down. At this point, I had put the fib over here because we started buying. I was hoping to see a retracement into the 50 for a sell. It did not happen. Right? We did not make it up to the 50, so no trade. And honestly, this, I don't really need the alert anymore. And now from the open, right, we started selling here and made it down here, right? From the open impulse, or right before we started selling, made it down here. Now we are into that golden zone and possibly will close a 5-minute candle above. But this is so volatile. It is so volatile on it could just explode. So in either direction. So I'm not really interested here, especially the fact that it doesn't seem like it rejected the 50. It just seems to be going through it. What does have it'll look like happen is that Friday evening over here, we gapped up, and now we just close this gap, right? From here to here. We didn't close it to the penny, but pretty darn close. And now could be moving up again. M2K, what do we got? Choppy mess. Right, overlapping fair value gap. Fair value gap on the way up, and then one straight after. This is, for me, is just don't touch this. It's a battle between the buyers and sellers. So this is showing me that we were selling, right? The impulse move was selling. So we started selling after we rejected here, and then we started buying over here. Right? This is what I mean by like levels. Right? This is pre-market high, but then the 50 is right above it. We made a big green candle over here and then rejection. So this level right here might be interesting on the Dow. So over here, I would put an alert. And I would see, do we wick into here and then reject and give me an entry for a possible 3R move? We are making higher lows on the 1 minute. Let's go back to the 5. On the 5, these are very big candles. Rejecting this level. So let's see what happens here. And for an entry, I do zoom in. So I am going to put the 2 minute over here. Let's leave this here. I don't know if anybody else is looking at it. Platinum. Oh, what happens here? Let's look at this. Micro platinum futures, no data. Do I have to subscribe to something different for platinum? If so, then I don't have it. There we go. Thank you for sharing that. There's no micro. Okay. Thank you. I've never traded it, obviously. Yeah, definitely an interesting level for a possible double bottom, right? If you consider pre-market action as your first bottom. Yeah, definitely room to the left. There we go. Yeah, very interesting levels as far as price action. I do not know how this moves. But as far as a double bottom, for me, it would have to show, it would have to be at a level. So I'd have to go on to the 30 minute and see, is this an actual level? I might have to go to the daily. Okay, so it was a level over here. Look at the size of these things. There you go. So it's definitely at an interesting level on the daily, right? Resistance, and then support or close to it. Definitely support, possibly support. I say definitely because this was in the past. I say possibly over here because I have no idea what's going to happen over here. But yeah, thanks for sharing. This is, if anybody's trading this, it's at an interesting level for sure.
I took a long on INTC. We'll see what happens.
You get an entry on this thing, yeah.
My entry was 107.19. So my original stop was the low, that inverted hammer, and I just raised it to about 106.93. We'll see. I may raise it a little bit more. We'll see where it can go, but I'm ideally targeting a high day, but we'll see if it overcomes a VWAP here or not.
Yeah.
So it may falter and it may lose, but if it holds VWAP, this could be a nice trade. We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Could absolutely be a nice trade. Like to see, right? That's the pullback on, wow, there's nothing happening in SPY. People are taking their time. Let's go back to the 5-minute here. All right, Qs and SPY, not much happening yet. Love to see the break of this level for your INTC trade. And I'd love to see buyers come back in.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, I'm already at 4 hour. I haven't taken any partials, so I'm just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some potential.
Yeah, they definitely have good news. This 5-minute candle closing above the 50 would be great, and then the break of that would be great. There's a little bit of headwind with fair value gap and these wicks here that were rejection levels before. So if we make it above that, then yeah, I think it's smooth sailing to the tops. But what I think doesn't matter.
Same here.
Yeah, and hopefully that's clear for, you know, if there are newbies in here. Obviously, my analysis doesn't matter. The market's going to do whatever the hell the market wants to do.
We just try to get in at the right time, and then if we're fortunate, we can set our stop to above break even and just kind of let it go.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta have a system that if it goes in your direction, you're basically following the whales, right? These prices are being moved by very large accounts. You know, you and I are not moving this. We're just piggybacking, and that's what trading is at our level. You know, unless you're moving the markets, and some people do, but unless you're moving the markets, you're just looking to piggyback, right? And that's and try to avoid fear and greed, which is very difficult. Gilles, would you take a short if MNQ drops below 29,300? Let's look at the level. 29,300. Would I take a short if it drops below here? I would not take a short at this level because there's definitely some potential support over here, right? This is potential support at 280, 250. I can't make RVR from 20 points. If it came down and retested below this level, then possibly. right? So it would have to break down below this white line that I've put in here. This is a very, and this entire purple area here, but it's likely an area of support, right? Because what happens most of the time, again, 50.1% of the time, and that's not an actual stat, obviously, but what happens often is that when you have resistance, which we did over here, price was at resistance, we came back and resisted again with this long wick over here, but then we consolidated and then we broke out of it, right? So the buyers were in control at this point. There were a lot of buyers ready to buy at this level. You can only assume that these buyers are still there and they're going to try to protect this level. Right? They didn't get into their entire positions over here. But then again, this was pre-market on very low volume, right? Compared to the volume we're seeing right now, right? It was quite a good spike of volume, but again, nothing compared to RTH. So I would be more likely to take a long over here. But that's what I would do, right? It doesn't, I mean, that's my own trading. It's not, you know, I'm just sharing what it is that I would do. But for me to take a long over here, you would have to see that the buyers are in control. Right now, I don't see who's in control. Right? It's really choppy. So I would look at it again. I'm not willing to risk capital unless A, it matches with my trade book, and B, I can tell, pretty much I can tell who's in control. What were we looking at? We were looking, I did not look at my, my alert did not go off because it did not get into the actual 50. Right? And this range is easier to justify because this is a swing high, and for the time being, this was the low. But we are rejecting pre-market high. And now it's just consolidating over here. So we'll see what happens once it gets out of this range. Right? Let's draw it. Right? This range right here, we're just chopping up and down right here. And if I were to short over here at the top of the range, I'd be aiming for the bottom of the range. Wouldn't be aiming for, you know, the last month's low. INTC, I hope you didn't get wicked out.
I did not, man. I took my stop off and I was using a manual stop and I was just, and it came down and I thought, oh shit, I'm going to end up break even.
Yeah.
But you know what? I took my stop on. I'm glad I did because, yeah, I would have got wicked out.
If you don't mind me sharing for anybody else curious, you were willing, or, you know, let's just use hypothetical, somebody's willing to go in and risk 1R to try to make 3 or 4 or whatever your target is. It hasn't proven, your stop hasn't been taken out. Your original stop hasn't been taken out yet. Right, so be careful. Not you, but or you, if you want to take the advice, be careful when you move your stop to break even or you start moving it up. Sometimes because I do it as well, we move it up too quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if we can make it above, if this closes, especially if it closes green, and we can make it up above here, then I would. Personally, I would move my stop to break even because this is a level that we could not get above most recently. Right. So I'm hoping it works out in your favor, obviously.
Nah, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put my stop back in the low of that big green candle at 106.93, but we got some buying pressure here right now in this 5 minutes, and we're about 10 seconds to close. If we can close over a VWAP, we're going to head north, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we may head south.
Yeah, it closed red, but this is a very interesting candle.
Come on. I mean, on the 15-minute chart, I'm looking good so far. I just got to be able to hang here.
Yeah, and 9 minutes left in the 15-minute, but look at where it came down to. Right at the, I mean, it came down below that before, but it just came to the 61.8. Are we seeing buying in SPY Qs? Not yet. Very slow price action in these. Right? I think market makers and a lot of people are waiting to see what direction we're going in. What's happening with AMD chopping? What's happening with Nvidia?
I might take a partial though. I don't know if I like this. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, it's a hard price action to judge over here.
It's super hard right now. I'm hoping this 108 level will hold, but because I'm sort of asymmetrical on the day right now, so it's really hard. I'm to hold it and not partial. When you look to the left and you think, wow, this could be a major R day, but it's right at VWAP, so it could falter here.
Yeah, it could. Yeah. And I like looking to see what's happening in other things as well. Not necessarily to, it helps confirm, right? So if we start buying in SPY Qs, then it gives you a little bit of confidence that we're going to continue buying in INTC as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what's CRBS doing? Yeah, still not there. Yeah, and what works for me is walking away. That's on Avi's advice a long time ago. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you just got to put the trade. You're willing to risk 1 to make 3. Sometimes it's just better to walk away. And that's often what I do after 10:30. So I'll look at something, analyze it. I feel confident that it could go my direction, put the trade and walk away. And then I'll put an alert, just out of curiosity. I like having an alert whether I got to 3R or -1. And either way, I'm okay with it. MYM, yeah, it's just chopping in this area. The longer it chops in this area, the less interested I am in trusting the golden zone. Because this chop is just basically saying that everybody's okay with the price that they're paying and getting at this level. So this might just be a nothing day. Definitely seems like it so far. Unless we get some news. Hopefully we do get positive news on what's going on. What do we got here? Extreme fear. Oh, that's crypto in with Bitcoin. Crypto market sentiment. BT also just chopping around. That's another thing too. I mean, it's still within its IB, the initial balance, its first hour. Wow, there's a bit of a spread on this. I just saw it jumping.
How do you interpret that as
I
volatility?
wasn't looking at it. I just see it here. I was just looking at price here.
It's just dancing around VWAP. You can do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, just by looking at price, it just, I saw it go from 20 to like 40 in a second. So it just jumped 20 cents. Right. So I'm assuming we had a little bit of price imbalance there. Right now the spread's 4 cents, 6
Yeah,
cents.
it's pretty tight.
Yeah. But again, on a $100 stock, 5-6 cents spread is a little bit odd, a bit of an anomaly.
Let's go north.
Yeah, it's a bit of an anomaly. It's just basically showing that there's a little bit lower volume. And we can tell that there's lower volume because this is going nowhere. This is going nowhere.
All right, this is what I want to see.
There you go. So we want to wait to 109 fairly quickly. So so this area right here could be a little bit more difficult to get out of, but we're buying right now. So good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
And 3.5 minutes left for me. When I walk away or when I disconnect here, I'm gonna set a few alerts, but honestly, I don't see much happening today. Personally, for my style of trading, and when I say today, I mean right now. I will look into it after 11 o'clock, check back with it, see if there's anything interesting. But you know, for my style of trading, I need to see who's in control, and that trade's going nicely for Evo right now. As far as MNQ, we're starting to buy. So MNQ, I have an alert at the bottom. When I walk away, I'm going to put an alert near the top because those are the levels that I'm interested in, either for a rejection, and a rejection here would be either a kangaroo tail rejection for the short or a rejection of these highs again for a double top. I'm on 110, 109.90. And so the high of this candle here was 109.95, and we went 4 cents higher. So difficult to see what's going to happen here. As far as smaller time frame, right? Pullbacks are normal. You just don't want to see, you know, a massive pullback.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll let you handle your trade there.
No, I don't mind your commentary. We hit that one.
You know what?
Huh?
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think there's a little bit of a delay. I don't want to be an influence, you know, in either direction, right?
No. I appreciate your commentary. You know, it definitely, you know, hit that one hump around 109.96. I was really thinking I'd like to get to about 110.50 and maybe take some off there. And then, of course, the session high around 111. If we get to the pre-market high 113, that'd be golden. So,
yeah.
You know, I'm, like I said, I usually don't like to partial, but there are, you know, I see 1, 2, 3, I see 4 targets here of potential resistance. So
just from on a 1 minute time frame, just what I see here is that we've got potential resistance over here, but Most recently, we're buying, right? So most recently, just with these 4 candles here, look at where we retraced to, right? The impulse buy where we broke out of this potential resistance here, it started here and then made a high. This next, and this is just on 1 minute candles, but look at where the 1 minute candle came into the 50. And then from there, started making new highs, right? Made a new high there, made a new high there. This is actually, you've got to have a crap load of buying power, but right here, from there to
I did take a third off right now, so I got 2/3 remaining. And I think I'm gonna let that roll and keep VWAP as my stop right now.
right, on a smaller time frame. I was just saying that this is what I look at, and like I said, you've got to be able to load the boat to be able to buy enough shares to be able to make 4R here. But this was a 4R trade in the last 2 minutes. Right, and that's how I look at price action now. I mean, this was a 50% retracement, A, B, C, D, whatever you want to call it. Now we're getting, you know, the candle gods are getting angry, right? We've got wicks. Right, so what happens here? Who knows? That's why it's hard to trade candle by candle. It definitely is easier to, you know, aim for a target, and whether you get there or not is, you know, you've got a fixed -1 or +3, +4, +2, depending on your strategy. Okay, so it is, my alarm did not go off, but it is past 10:30. The room remains open, and I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully that trade works out for you, Eva. Hopefully,
Thank you, Joe.
yeah, hopefully the market can start getting involved, and you know, be positive for this as well.
No, thank you. It's just always great to chat with you. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you know, have a great start to your week.
Thank you. Same to you, and have a great week, everyone. And I'll be back tomorrow. All right. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Thank you. Thanks, Oliver. Thanks, Suzanne. Cheers.